Hello everyone, this is Maria from MB Reborns. I am back to show everyone how I do the creases on my babies. So let's go ahead and get started. I had mentioned before how I try not to spend too much money on my brushes, and so let me show you what I use. This is the brush I use to do all of my washes on my babies. And so I'll have some paint, usually in a jar like this. These jars you can get online, but they're quite expensive. My suggestion is that you go to a thrift store, and I got a set of 3, I think for like 60 cents each. So that is the best route for you to take. You can also buy a vegetable, like with this one, it had artichoke hearts in here. Okay, so what you do is you use up whatever's inside the jar and then wash it out really good. And what I do also is I put a mix of water and vinegar into it and seal it up for, I don't know, a day or so to get rid of all of the odors from whatever was inside. And then I just rinse it out and let it dry, and all of the smells from whatever was inside before will go away, and that way you can use the jars that you get at any grocery store to help with your reborns. So that's another inexpensive way. This is an e.l.f. brush, and I use e.l.f. quite a bit. So I use this to put my washes on, and I use the little eyeshadow applicators to go over the creases. And when you are working with creases, sometimes there's pooling in the creases, and those can turn out to look really bad. So you want to make sure you blend all of your creases, and this really helps pick up any excess paint that you have on the creases. So that's what I use these for. And then this is a concealer brush, also e.l.f. And after I apply the paint using a thin brush, I go back with this and blend in the paint. Okay, and for the actual creases, I use a brush that is pretty thin, and this one again was one of the brushes I got in a pack from Walmart, and I think I paid under $4. It's a liner brush, and I think it was a pack of 6. Okay, and then this brush I use when I want to get into, it's a smudge brush, and when I want to get into the crevices that you normally can't get into with a sponge. Let me show you, oops, excuse me. Let me show you with Kate here. So let's say I'm working on Kate's eyes and I put too much paint in there, or I just finished doing a wash on her, and I want to make sure that nothing is left behind, because when paint gets left behind and you don't blot it out, you end up just getting smudges that you don't want. So usually I will use this to really get in there and get all the paint blended and out of the creases and crevices. So that's what I use this one for. And then this one is one that I got at Michael's. It's the brand Simply Simmons, and it's a Plat Quart 12 oil brush. Okay, and it has hard bristles. And this one I use, most people will use a mop brush. I think I got this one at Bountiful Baby when I first started reborning. and it has served its purpose. I have not thrown it away only because I paid so much for it, so I don't know why I'd rather just have it than toss it. But I don't use it as much anymore. But I do use this one. And so after I do my washes, just to get and make sure that all of the paint is blended. So this serves the same purpose as this one, but just for bigger areas. So I hope that makes sense. So that's the other brush I use. And so let's go ahead and get started with the paint that I will be mixing. And in here what I have is a mix of Bountiful Baby Genesis Heat Set paint, and this is used on lips and nails. And one more thing I can't remember, but it's actually called lips, nails, something. And it's just like a strawberry color, dark. And so I blend this with some of my Mona Lisa paint thinner, just a tad bit, and a little bit of my titanium white, just a tiny bit of that. And believe it or not, I use paint thinner. Paint thinner works as a thickening medium for me. I have never purchased actual thickening medium. I purchased thinning medium, and it works just as well. Don't ask me why or how, but that's what I use it for, and it works for me. So let's see, let me grab a brush to grab some more of this. And I have a lot of questions from people asking me to give them measurements on what I use, and I simply cannot give measurements because I don't measure. The only thing I do is I go by sight, and if the paint looks the way I want it to look, then I'm good. But I can't tell you put a teaspoon or half a teaspoon or a dash of anything. I just basically blend in the paints, blend them together, and then decide whether or not it's the color that I want. So for my creases, I usually tend to make them a little bit darker, and I try to go for a true strawberry color. I know that there is a strawberry color that's made and sold out there in the market for reborning, but it's a little too rich for my blood. So I just mix my own paints and I hope for the best. And so far so good. I haven't had any issues. There's a little hair sticking out. So I think I'm good on the color for this. And I hope you can see the color. And as far as the white, I don't think I need any because I had some in there from when I worked on Kate, and I gave her another layer of modeling. So I'm going to put some of this in there, and this is again the thinning medium that will act as a thickening agent. And I just go in and mix everything together, blend it together, and it will thicken. It takes a little bit of time to thicken, but it does work. And just blend it together. And I think we're good. Okay. So that looks good. If I need any more of this, I can always go back and add more. And then I'm going to need one of these little eyeshadow sponges and my thin brush. Okay. All right, let's get started on Kate. So here is Kate. I hope you can see her. And I just go over her creases. Like so. I hope you can see what I'm doing. And then her other eye, same thing. Just put some paint in the creases. And that looks good. Okay, so after I put the paint in the creases, I let them sit, okay, and then I go back with my little e.l.f. brush that I haven't taken out of the packet. This one. And I go over each area that I put paint in and just blend it. So I do the same thing around the nose, like so, and the other side. One thing to always keep in mind when doing creases, like I mentioned before, is pooling of paint inside the creases does not look good, okay? And you do not want to bake your baby and have the creases set looking pulled. It's very unattractive and it does not look professional. So always make sure you go over the areas with another brush and blend everything well. Okay, and I'm doing under the lip. And then go back and do a little bit more on the eyes. And so right now what I'm basically doing is I'm adding paint to these areas. Okay. And when I'm happy with those results, I let the paint sit for a bit and then go back and blend. Okay. And make sure you get all the creases on the kit. Don't overlook areas in an attempt to rush through the process. Ladies, let me just tell you, reborning is not something you want to rush, because when you rush through the process, it shows in the final product. And I don't know how many times I've read on people's feedback on eBay, how they received their baby and they were disappointed because the paint job looked rushed. I don't ever want to hear that about my work. I take great pride in what I do, and I want people to be happy with my work. And I think that's the difference between someone that does this for a living versus doing it for the joy of doing it. I do it because I love it. I just really enjoy the painting process and seeing these babies come to life. What used to be a blank kit, and just after so many hours of work, have it turn into something that you think might take a breath at any minute is very rewarding. I also do the back of the ears. Just put a little bit of paint back there and bring it over to the front and to the other side. Like so. And to the inside of the ear. Don't forget these details, ladies. Always observe your work and all the parts of the baby to make sure you're not forgetting anything. Okay, so then I go back. I'm going to try to raise this just a little bit so you can see better. And I can see what I'm recording. Okay, so here is baby Kate. So now I take this brush and I go over the areas that I just painted. And what I'm doing here is I'm just blending everything together. And there might be too much paint in the creases. So if that does happen, you can always use your little applicator and just pick up the extra paint. Okay? Can you see that? Okay. And then you do the other side. And some of the same, just blend it in. And this brush, what I love about it is that it does move the paint really well. So some of the paint just naturally will come out if it's too much. And you just pick it up with the brush. And the ears, we go in and just blend. And can you see that? Okay. Baby Kate is coming along pretty nicely. I'm happy with it. So far so good. And based on the votes that I have counted so far, unless Ember gets a slew of votes in the next week or so, I think Kate might walk away with the win. Blend, 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 ladies. Do not overlook any area, because what you fail to do on these babies. Whoever buys the baby from you, trust me, they will notice. And one of the biggest assets for an artist who sets out to do reborning is the ability to pay attention to detail. And I am a very analytical person, and I think that is a definite plus when it comes to this art. Paying attention to detail is almost more important than having the creativity to paint one of these babies. If you can pay attention to detail, you can reborn. Now the other side. And go inside the nose. Make sure you blend that in well on both sides. And then go back with this and clean it up. Okay. There we go. That is the first layer of creasing. How many layers of creasing do you need? Usually, I think I do 2 or 3. I probably don't do things in the order that most people do, so I tend to end up having to go back and go over my initial work, but it works for me. I think it gives the baby a lot of depth if you just layer things versus just doing one layer of each step in the process. Okay, all right, there she is. There are her ears, the other ear, and I can see an area where the paint is not blended. What happened here? Let me grab a little bit of paint and see what's going on here. And there you go. Sometimes if the paint dries, you just have to stick the paintbrush back in the paint and re-wet the area, and that should make it work. Okay, and there's a crease that goes along the back of her head that I missed. So it's like right there, and it's very subtle, but it's still there. And just blend that in. You don't want your lines to look line-ish. You want them to look subtle. I know line-ish is not a word, I know. I meant to say dark or stark, but you know what I mean. So there you go, the back of the head, the ears, the back of the ears. There you have it, ladies. First layer of creasing for Kate is done. Talk to you later. Bye.